Don in London, hello. I was just checking the date. March 8th, 2010. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour. Equally addictive to work, relationships, trying to be perfect. Materialism, collecting, you name it. Anything to fill that gap inside which I wasn't quite sure about. And that gap inside was room for growth. It was something which helped me take the edge off. As soon as I had that first drink, I felt different. I felt very different. And I felt relaxed, happy, convivial, sleepy, because I was very young. And I started to learn that I could fix myself. And it wasn't a conscious decision to do all these things. It was simply the way it was. So these days I'm learning on a daily basis what it's like after 35 years of becoming dependent and then addicted to alcohol, work, relationships, people, places, things, fixing the hole inside me. I've started to learn how to be me on a daily basis, just to be sober and experience what life can be. So if I have a gap inside me, and believe you me, in sobriety that gap gets filled up very, very, very quickly with things to do, because I think everybody who's been addicted is actually addicted to life in a very strange way. But in the last throes of addiction, we cannot even stand the idea of waking up in the morning or waking up after another binge of something or other. So there's a big difference these days in me, and that is when I wake up, the very last thing I would entertain is trying to fix myself with a drink or a substance or people, places and things. Or maybe I just fix myself with doing a video, I don't know. But the reason for doing these videos was very simple. There are a lot of people who cannot get to meetings of a fellowship I go to, that's Alcoholics Anonymous, or have much of a clue about what sobriety can offer, because being stuck in the malady means we're still stuck in the problem rather than moving to a solution, and the solution is sobriety. So where am I today? Well, I'm here and I want to share some information, if you like, from the Daily Reflections, this book, which is all about recovery from addiction to substance and behaviour, but primarily a substance, alcohol, but it could be anything, and how the fellowship works for me. That's the fellowship of AA. So I will start by sharing the AA preamble, which is on this little card here, and I read it because if I recite it, I'm just reciting something ad nauseum, but if I read it, it slows me down into the moment of now and makes me consider what I'm trying to do. So here is the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So always being able to share experience, strength and hope is contingent on continued sobriety, and hopefully that's what I'm aiming at. But it's only for a day, and the one-day program has saved my life simply because I'm not looking back too hard and staring at the past and getting turned inside out by it anymore. Either my drinking or working or relationship behaviour is about now. I've learned from what I did in the past, and I'm going to continue learning from my past. And if I look to the future and go too far forwards, I'm trying to live in something which doesn't exist yet. So recovery is all about now. And what I've also found is this spiritual connection to living is all about now. Living in reality with as few filters in between me and what reality can and is today, can be or is today. So I fit myself to what is rather than trying to fix myself with something, and it's not easy. So there are 12 steps which help me, 12 steps of action to change my attitude and behaviour on a daily basis. And March is all about step 3 for me. But just a recap on the first 2 steps, which I covered in January and February on my videos, and they're out there if you want to have a look. So step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. So in the problem, powerless over the drink or people, places and things, and life was completely unmanageable because all I could do was exist to fulfill my addiction, which was a processor of alcohol, and then trying to fix myself with anything else I could lay my hands on, I guess. And then the second step, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Well, for me, I always had a higher power in my life when I was a kid, and that was my dad and my mum. And I saw my father fall into being an alcoholic, although I didn't know what he had fallen into, except that he could not cope with life. And I followed him 35 years later because I'm a chip off the old block. I just learned from him. And then for step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. This step 3 malarkey, when I thought it was malarkey. I'm not too sure about what God could or should be in my life. But I've actually worked out an understanding that providence, nature, the universe is far bigger than me, and the wisdom of other people, the collective wisdom of humanity, is far greater than me. So when it comes to understanding powers greater than me, just about anything can be. It can be a young person with a bit of wisdom. So these days I'm very happy to say, for me, God is truth, God is love, and God works through people, and I don't need to debate it, and I cannot define God. It's impossible, because it's beyond my capacity. So an understanding of truth, love and wisdom from others helps me see a higher power in my life. So when I say let go and let God, it's letting go of my self-will, my obsessive thinking that I know it all, when I know nothing most of the time. And if I start with a blank sheet in the morning, I have a good chance of learning something by the end of the day, which is about happiness or sadness, as life is, because we are part of life again. So in this book, Daily Reflections for today, it talks about turning it over. Every man and woman who has joined AA and intends to stick has, without realising it, made a beginning on step 3. Isn't it true that in all matters touching upon alcohol, each of them has decided to turn his or her life over to the care, protection and guidance of, in this case, Alcoholics Anonymous? Any willing newcomer feels sure AA is the only safe harbour for the foundering vessel that he has become. Now, if this is not turning one's will and life over to a newfound providence, then what is it? Well, it took me a long time to get here, or to understand that providence and nature, providence of new wisdom, was going to keep me sober. So, goes on to say, submission to God was the first step to my recovery. I believe our fellowship seeks a spirituality open to a new kinship with God, and it's your understanding of God, not mine, which is so important. As I exert myself to follow the path of the steps, I sense a freedom that gives me the ability to think for myself and feel. My addiction confined me without any release and hindered my ability to be released from my self-confinement, but AA assures me of a way to go forward. Mutual sharing, concern and caring for others is our natural gift to each other, and mine is strengthened as my attitude towards God changes. I learn to submit to God's will in my life, to have self-respect, and to keep both of these attitudes by giving away what I receive. And the gift in there for me is that it's as we understand our own personal higher power. And I'm so grateful for that, because I try to conform all my life to other people's understandings and then rebel against them and excuse my drinking. So the serenity prayer, which helps me daily, goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today.